Hello, this is GW, and welcome to the first episode.
Yep, I'm Wayne.
Hi, I'm Hank.
Yeah, and today we're going to be watching a crime episode from what GW chose for us.
All right,
GW,
y'all ready?
what are we watching?
We are watching a political thriller that I have not reviewed yet myself, because I also wanted to surprise myself. So, yay.
Okay, let's start watching. Okay, so straight from the beginning, I think one of the most iconic sort of lines they say in like a crime, sort of documentary is like, oh, for politicians, like she has a lot of political enemies. So right from there, I was like,
Yeah, no, definitely. I was like, foul play is definitely a part you have to consider when someone dies very suspiciously. Wow, okay.
Okay, the husband, he said on the 911 call that she was barely breathing. And then in the interview said, oh, she wasn't breathing. So I started CPR. Which one is it? She's either barely breathing or not breathing. You can't be both.
okay, so grabbing onto details there, that's good. Yeah. I feel like a lot of times when it's any murder, it always happens to be someone who is rather close to the victim. It always has something to do with romance. Like in all the documentaries that I watch, a lot of it has to do with, oh, it's the neighbor that I got close with, or it's my wife, So I think that's definitely a good suspect.
Yeah, no, the husband's always a suspect. It's always the spouse.
And then it turns out that he's actually not the killer, but we just kind of zeroed in on him from the beginning.
No, it's definitely going to be him.
Okay. $10, I guess that is the husband. Want to make a bet, Lizzie?
Okay, no, Kaden, you already owed me money.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Actually, yeah. Yes, that's true. No, I was gonna say something, but I'll wait until after we're done with this.
Okay. All right, let's try and keep on watching. Okay, I feel like Hank has something to say.
So, let me get this straight. So, this chick's husband mysteriously gets in an accident, and then in the hospital, she gets all buddy-buddy with the nurse that's taking care of him, and then suddenly he dies, and she gets a $1 million life insurance policy, and then suddenly she marries this guy 3 weeks later, this nurse, and then suddenly she's dead, and so the nurse is involved in 2 different suspicious acts of death.
Yeah, no, the marriage is definitely suspicious. I mean, I don't think not a lot of people get married after 3 weeks of knowing the person.
Definitely. I feel like money always has a big role to play in a lot of these crime documentaries. So, I mean, the fact it was such a large amount, but that the relationship didn't seem to be strong enough where it seemed like, the lady was having trouble after, his death. She was like, you know what, 3 weeks, I think that's enough time to mourn over him. Next one.
All right.
On to the next.
Oh, and what do we think, what was it? About his suicide, his attempt at suicide, right? Her husband?
That was the stupidest suicide note I've ever seen in my life. I want to walk in the sunshine with her. What do you mean?
Yeah, I think it's definitely suspicious. Just the fact that he blamed his suicide sort of on his wife's political enemies, right? Am I interpreting that correct?
Yes.
He said that he was so sorry for his wife's, or he was so like angered sort of by his wife's political enemies and what they were doing to her that he wanted to take his own life.
No, he legitimately said, I'm glad you killed her because she was already being ruined by you. And I was like,
I think he did say that, right? GW, check us on that one. Did he say that?
I mean, I'll have to go check again. I don't. Did he?
I think so. In this letter,
Or
like
was
where
it?
it shows the letter, it has the letter upstairs. I think he did, which is, I don't know if that's a suspicious statement if I've ever heard one.
Was this
That's-
letter? Hold up.
Fortunately, Chaz received medical.
Okay, everyone. So after we rewinded and went back to the part with the husband's letter, he said, what did he say? GW, come on. What did he say? He
Says,
said,
"Thank you for taking my wife
Fighting for-
away from me.
Her life, a life that was taken away by.
A life that was taken away by non-caring politicians." Apparently, but that first line, "Thank you for taking my wife away from me," is pretty sus.
I have to say, it feels like the husband cares a lot about the politicians, the political enemies. Are you getting what I'm hinting at, sort of?
I mean, this is titled political thriller, so
That is true. I mean, I feel like in the language, when you look at by non-caring politicians, this is a long shot, but if he was siding with the political enemies, it feels like a sort of like harsh language for the politicians to just kind of say those non-caring politicians. I don't feel like it's usual language that you would put in this kind of letter. What are your guys' take?
I mean, it's a little cruel, but like, what if he was trying to use his suicide, to get out of being involved with it? Like, there's some stories or murderers, serial killers, whoever, have like a ton of guilt after what they did and then try to end their life by in order to get away from it. So I feel like that's what he's kind of doing, or what he tried to do, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, for a suicide note, does not focus on his wife a lot. It just focuses on the politicians, which is
Yeah.
unusual for like a grief-stricken like suicide. Usually you would talk about how much you can't live without them and how much you want to be with them, how much you miss them, not how much that you wish that they were dead.
Or in the very least, talk more about his life, I mean, I feel like if it was for a suicide letter, I feel like he wouldn't have placed that much emphasis on, sort of talking about his wife's murder or not murder,
Right.
So definitely suspicious part. I have to say, really suspicious.
Agreed.
Mm.
Okay, so they found incision marks, but they haven't said that they've done a toxicology yet, which is like the first thing they should have done at the hospital to find out what's going on with her.
I feel like always you should have done that. Any talks. Why wouldn't they do that?
I don't know. But yeah, though the medical examiner found 2 incision marks on her butt. So
Interesting. I honestly don't know what injections could go in there.
yeah, and usually it's like between like the toes or like the fingers.
Yeah, because it's a very large open space, easy to find.
Question. I thought it said bruises. Didn't it say 2 bruises on her left buttock?
Yeah, it said bruises and then it said 2 injection points.
2 inject. Oh, okay.
Bruises that came from injection points.
I see. So right now the guest is poison.
Yes.
Probably. Or some type of overdose.
Okay.
A weird overdose.
A weird overdose, yeah.
I mean, it could be a, like a planned overdose. Maybe not by her, but by someone else.
Yeah.
Or someone close to her, if we're suspecting the husband like we are doing right now.
Yes. The husband is suspicious.
And I love the way they say buttock, can I just say?
I know, I saw.
All of a sudden, like they were doing so fine. They were showing the forensic, like the medical examiner's face, and then it cuts to the butt. It is just like, we found 2 bruises on her buttock.
On her left buttocks.
Yeah, very specific. Okay, need some clarification. So what 911 calls are we talking about? It can't be after she was, gone, right?
I'm pretty sure it's like the night he called. He just like called up his friend, like, okay, I'm doing this now. I need to go help her or whatever.
Oh, so after they saw that she was in the emergency condition that she was in, the Chaz dude, he called 911 and then he was like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna do some CPR on her. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Oh, it was.
he was having affairs. Okay. He said at work that if anyone was gonna help him, they should take out his wife, and that she was controlling and that she sucked, and he's a registered nurse, and if she was killed by injection, kind of interesting. Mm.
The
And
stars are aligning.
Oh my, Hank, you make a great point. The fact that Chaz is a nurse and that he probably had the professional knowledge about injecting, whatever type of substance he was trying to get into her body.
exactly.
Okay. Wow. So that's lining up definitely. And I have to say the 911 calls were really weird. That's the main point I stopped the video. Because he just says, hey, I'm going to do some CPR on her, okay? And then he also says in the beginning, which is the most suspicious, she's not bleeding. What do you guys notice is kind of wrong with that? Because I have something that kind of gets alarming when I hear that sort of language.
Yeah, it's almost as if he was like planning on her reaction to something.
Right. It feels to me like he was wondering, well, I'm expecting her to be bleeding, but she's not. So how do I kind of handle this? And then he's saying, well, I feel like I have to call 911 or something. I don't know why. Maybe it was his plot to have made it so that it seems like he didn't actually kill her.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
He just sounds so apathetic in the 911 call. He's like,
Yeah.
so my wife's not breathing, CPR time, okay?
Yeah. He searches on WikiHow. He's like, hello, I'm a 3-year wet. Oh my. I'm a 3-year wed. I'm a 3-year-old, not a 3-year-old husband. I've been a husband to her for 3 years. I'm seeking some help. What do I do when she's not bleeding like she's supposed to be, and all this kind of weird language. It doesn't sound like. I feel like the same tone as his suicide letter in this kind of appearance to make everything okay, like what he said to his coworkers, right?
Right.
Yeah, you make a good point. I was gonna say that, being a nurse, he might be calmer to situations in which someone's like dying because of what he does as a profession. But how he talked in his suicide note and all of these letters of him having a supposed affair is concerning.
For sure.
Yeah, but I'm expecting a twist because from the timeline here, we have, how much time do we have?
We have
Like GW.
we have until 21. So we have about I can't do math. 4 minutes left. We're about almost halfway through the video.
Okay. So maybe there's a small twist. I don't know. Okay. Okay. So
I called it.
Yes, you did.
yeah, you did. All of
Like
our leads so far.
Okay. So what?
If it is just like out of what the heck, chance that it isn't him, he really made it look like him. If it to not be him, I'm just gonna say.
He told another nurse at his office that if he was gonna kill somebody, the best thing to use is like some random drug. Okay, it's quick to leave the body and it's fast acting and is lethal in large doses. And him, being a nurse, would have both access to it and talked about it the day before she died. So,
But it seems too obvious. Like, is he this sloppy of a killer, I should say?
Okay, but like most killers are really stupid, so are we surprised? No.
From what the police is saying, I think they've basically determined that he's the killer. And all they need to do in order to pound the gavel, metaphorically, is to find the evidence that he's used the drug on her, to connect the drug to him and then to the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have to figure out a way to do that because it does leave the body super quickly. So, rip.
Yeah,
I
good
mean-
call on toxicology.
Finally, toxicology.
Yeah.
We've been waiting.
Okay, let's see if it's actually him, or how they find out, or how they trace the drug back to him. Okay. So yeah, go.
Okay, so basically what happened is people at the hospital didn't believe that the lady had a heart attack, so they took urine samples and froze them immediately, and those samples ended up yielding the toxin that the guy was heard to have used, and they raced at him, searched his car, and they saw note cards with all the information about the drug on it, which was really stupid of him to leave in the car. It's like, I don't know, a week, 2 since his wife died. Like, get rid of the evidence. What's wrong with you? And aside from that, now that the police have solved the first girl's murder, now they have to solve her ex-husband's suspicious death. Because now this guy's involved in one murder as a nurse. Who's to say he didn't kill the other person too? Because that guy had a $1 million life insurance policy. So
I think you cracked it. Right.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh my gosh, it was so obvious. Like, it literally took one frozen urine sample and they found a whole stack of cards in his car.
I know, right? They could have just gotten a warrant that he was being suspicious.
They could have.
See, with these type of cases, I always think that the entire intention for them wasn't to perfectly execute a murder, or at least do it in a semi-good way, but instead just to do it, just to get, the end goal done, to murder the person and get on with it, Because I
Well, I
feel like
mean,
you have to have some sort of self-awareness, like going into a murder and then like coming out with cards that are literally the most obvious evidence pointing out that it's you. To say like, hey, I know I'm not the best guy at doing a murder, so as long as I can get my end goal done, I'll end up in jail.
I mean, he did try to kill himself, so he did try to avoid the jail bit.
Yep.
You make a good point. But then he even failed at the suicide, so.
I mean, that's a really hard suicide to execute, slitting your wrists horizontally.
Yeah.
Because it takes a really long time, because your veins don't go horizontally, they go vertically on that part of your arm. So it's really difficult for you to bleed out quickly. And since the neighbor called the police, he went to the hospital in enough time that he didn't lose too much blood.
This makes me feel like maybe he didn't do his research on that either.
Yeah, no,
Like,
probably.
he didn't do his research at all when it comes to how to kill a person, I guess.
Even WikiHow didn't help him with this one.
All right, let's see how on this one. He did get away with this one. I definitely think this guy died. I mean, was murdered. Obviously, he's dead, but yeah.
Okay, so Charles murdered. You think by not toxicology, by toxin again, poisoned?
Probably.
Most likely.
Okay, let's find out. Okay, so first of all, props to the emergency room nurses, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe no. Okay, if I probably had training, might have thought of that, but it probably wouldn't be the first thing that came to mind. To freeze like the urine sample and make sure to save it for later.
Yeah, the fact that they traced it immediately to poison their suspicion, I think, definitely props to them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, to be fair, that was kind of an obvious one with that there was nothing that could have possibly caused her illness. like nothing was on the scans when she was still alive. Nothing was happening. So I think poison was a really good guess. But the fact that they figured it out so quickly, snazzy on them.
All right, so it was unknown if, oh my gosh, I literally forgot his name, but her previous husband, it's unknown whether or not he was also murdered because they could not find, and I think it was like in his embalming, that the fluid he had used or used to, I don't know, was linked to the drug that had killed her. I don't know why it took so long to say that.
Yeah, do you guys think that he murdered her ex-husband?
Oh yes.
Can we get a vote? Get a vote. Let's get a vote.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, from Hank. GW.
Yes.
It's a yes from me as well. So we have a unanimous yes vote for murder of the wife's ex-husband. Oh, the ex-wife's, no. The wife's ex-husband's murder by poison.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, they found the byproduct of the
Yeah.
drug that was used to kill her in him. So, makes sense. Also, like, the only reason you would marry the nurse 3 weeks after your ex-husband's death is if it was, like, an agreement for helping you kill your ex-husband so you can get the $1 million. I think they were just sharing in the money.
Yeah.
I mean, how they met though? They said that they met because, you know, he was the nurse for him. Could they have like planned all that before? And they just have been planning this for like years, months, weeks, who knows? Or did they just decide in those 3 weeks of having known each other that we're gonna get married and take $1 million?
I think it was just like, I don't know, either way. But one thing I do know is that he definitely helped her kill him with the same drug that he used to kill her. So.
I think for me, honestly, for the ex-husband's death, if it wasn't found that there was like a byproduct of the poison that was used to kill the wife, then I would have been like, well, I think it was more like, because it seemed like he was in a pretty bad condition, just from like the way that, you know, they kind of portrayed her ex-husband's, you know, illness.
Right.
That it would have been like a natural death, but because of that byproduct, I think it was a murder. But as for the planning part, I don't really think so, because I don't know if just from like a normal perspective, and I don't know how normal someone can be when we have like a murder on one end and another person who kind of has a lot of enemies. But I feel like, you know, I wouldn't step into marriage so easily when I find out that the other person I'm marrying is a person who's planning to murder someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think with that, all of our, you know, guesses just, it all lined up, can we just say?
I think it was pretty obvious from the start. He wasn't really
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
From
yeah.
looking, from his appearance, we were like, I think it's the husband, right? Hank said it first. And then we moved on to the injections, which was our like first real breakthrough, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I know Hank was talking about toxicology and GW agreed, you know, like off camera. So then when it came to injections, you guys were like, I think it's a poison, guys. So we definitely caught on to that. And then we kind of moved on to all of this sort of, you know, psychological kind of state the murderer, who was the dude that Chaz was in, his apathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the fact that, you know, he seemed like he didn't care how, you know, his wife's death at all. And then linking that to the 911 calls, and then finally forensics evidence, all of what, you know, the police thought, and then finally reaching the conclusion. Pat on the back, can I just say?
We are so good at this.
40 forensic scientists. We don't need the schooling.
Exactly.
Still go to school.
Love it.
Well, of course.
One, you know, what do you call it? 1-1. You're 1 for 1.
Exactly. We'll have to keep a running tally.
Yeah. Okay, so for the final, I feel like we have to do this because when we started talking about this sort of podcast, we kind of rated our murderers. So before you guys start, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10, how about this? Should it be 1 being the best killer or 10 being the best killer?
A 10
10.
being the best killer.
Okay.
Wait, I have some criteria. Can I add them in?
Yes.
Yeah, so 10
Okay.
being the best killer criteria.
Yeah, so for the 10, the best killer, they have to be like the most organized and planned out. Even if they were caught in the end, they have to be really organized and have had this whole entire thing plotted out from like the very beginning, 2-3 years ago. However it was, it needs to be really intricate. They also be, if they weren't caught, obviously, but even if they still had, like a sloppy plan and they weren't caught, don't rate them a 10. They have to be like the perfect killer, I guess. And then for a 1, it's the exact opposite. They have to have no planning. It was so obvious. Got caught in like a week because of some urine sample.
You know, I think the 1 should be, I mean, yeah, definitely super sloppy, but then like the police is just like coming down the street and this man's hauling the body out of his door.
True. That is a 1.
That is a negative 100, can I just say?
A
The
1 would
police-
be like caught in the act.
Yeah, caught
True.
red-handed, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I have my rating.
Okay, let's not reveal it yet. First of all, let's say how organized do you guys think it was? 1 to 10. 10 being most organized. Hank.
Okay. I will say that like the murder weapon was a great murder weapon. Like he had to have known a lot about that one random specific chemical that's not used very often or isn't like used in that quantity because it is like an extreme paralytic. So I think murder weapon wise, that was pretty smart. And like well thought out. Also, he's done it before, so he had some like prior knowledge. So I think pretty planned out in that respect. But everything else, no.
Okay. GW, 1 to 10. How organized was it?
Organization, I mean, yeah, it was pretty good. I feel like him being a nurse allowed him to have a lot of previous knowledge to the paralyzing. The note cards, I mean, obvious evidence, but really good organization in the fact that he did like study, I guess, a lot for it, how to use it. I don't know if the injection spot was right, but I mean, where to inject it. So for organization, I would give him like maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking a 3 for my rating too.
Okay, so we have for organization, 1 to 10, it's a 3.
Yes.
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 Okay, then, okay, for me, you guys are so harsh. Can I just say, I was thinking like, you guys complimented him. You were saying, okay, well, he uses medical knowledge. Nice. I was like, okay, great. It's going to be a high point. And then you guys even said that note card. I was like, great, got 2 more points. This man's very organized. And then you guys give a 3 for the rating out of 10.
No, because that's all the organization was. The note cards and the drug. That's all it was. I mean, you can Google and research that. It's pretty basic knowledge if you're really into it.
All right. Just to give him the benefit of the doubt that, you know, he may have, I don't know, tried to plan a bit more inside his head, but it just wasn't found. A 4 for planning then. Okay, should that be our unanimous sort of vote, a 3.5?
A 3.5? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
for planning, 3.5. Then for final vote, GW?
Like just overall, how
Yeah.
good of a killer he was. I mean, I don't know. Don't have a lot to compare him off of, so I guess that maybe I'll bump it up to a 4.
Okay. Hank.
Okay, I'm bumping him down to a 2, and here's why. So first of all, other than the fact that that was a good murder weapon, his wife didn't die at first. Like, she was alive for like a good minute, you know? Like really alive? Not really, because I mean, she couldn't do anything and she was on life support, but like, she was still alive. He could have upped the dosage and done enough research to know how much to give her to kill her, because that was really bad planning. Um, Also, the fact that he had done it before and still didn't know the right dosage, just kind of sad, to be honest. And then that he made all of those comments to everybody else about how much he wanted to kill his wife, and then how he said that he was glad that she was dead in his suicide note. Like, come on. And then leaving the note cards in the car? No. And then being cold on the 911 call? No. And on the stand? Terrible. This guy's the worst. So a 2.
Okay.
Only reason he got a 2 is because of the organization of the murder weapon. Everything else, terrible. Terrible job.
All right, never mind. I changed my mind. I'm bumping him down to a 3.
Me too. I was thinking 5. But then, the fact that we were able to analyze, like straight from the first step, we said, yeah, he's the killer. I think that just proves how much he wasn't able to, plan a murder that was, that worked out. Like if it was at like step 10, we were like, oh, it's him. Then it definitely would have been a higher score.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
are also no other suspects.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
kind of sad.
pathetic. Do a better job next time, bro. Oh, wait, you can't. You got caught. Like, the fact that he had 2 chances, it's just sad. Like, you'd think on the second try he would have done it better. But, like, he still hasn't been caught for the first time, so.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm guessing our overall rating is going to be a 3. Yeah?
Yes.
A 3? Okay. So we give him a 3 for how good he kills. And hopefully the next one, actually, maybe he doesn't do better, or she. I'm not sure, but we'll have to find out in our next episode of this podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we watched Forensic Files season 13, episode 4.
Oh yeah, on YouTube, because Netflix does not like me.
Bye. Tune in next month in August.